Are you hoping to do some backpacking in Colorado, but you only have a weekend to spend, maybe 2 to 4 days? Well, then I have 3 backpacking trails that I would highly recommend for you. A couple of these do take some advanced planning, so even though we're getting to kind of the end of Colorado backpacking season for the year, unless you're into winter backpacking, which I personally am not, I wanted to get these on your radar for next year. Hey guys, if you don't know me, I'm Audrey. I'm known as Glow Stick on Trail. In 2018, I quit my amazing job in Washington, D.C. to thru hike the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine, and then I moved to beautiful, sunny Colorado, where life is wonderful, and I hike and backpack all the time and love to share my adventures with you guys. So, without further ado, let's get into these 3 weekend backpacking trips. First up, we have the 4 Pass Loop out by Aspen, Colorado. The 4 Pass Loop is a 28-mile trail out in the Maroon Bells Wilderness. This hike is absolutely stunning. This hike is consistently on Best of Colorado hiking lists. And if you go out and do it, it will be so obvious as to why. This loop is just freaking incredible. It is tough though. As the name suggests, you go up and over 4 mountain passes. These passes are above 12,000 feet above sea level. So if you have issues with high elevation, you might feel it on this hike. And throughout the course of this hike, you gain 8,000 feet of elevation. I've done this hike twice, once in 2 days and once in 3 days. But I've definitely even heard of people stretching it out to 4 days of backpacking because the elevation is pretty intense. If you want to park at the Maroon Bells Trailhead where this hike begins, you will need to get a permit in advance. These permits go on sale in the spring. This is a really popular wilderness area because of its beauty, so permits do go fast. If you're not able to get a permit, you have the option to get a shuttle ticket from one of the local ski resorts in Aspen. You get these shuttle tickets through the Aspen Chamber, and in peak hiking season, the shuttle runs every 15 to 30 minutes. On this hike, expect to see amazing wildflowers if you're there in the summer, lots of incredible scenery, some alpine lakes, views for days, and possibly even some wildlife. I saw lots of marmots and pikas while I was there, and I even saw an ermine, which is a cute little weasel creature. Note that you do need to bring a bear canister on this hike. They're required in this wilderness area. And once you're in this wilderness area, you have to self-register for a backpacking permit. Next up, we have Conundrum Hot Springs, also out by Aspen, Colorado. Conundrum Hot Springs was one of my very favorite hikes of the entire summer. This is an 18-mile out and back hike that takes you up to a natural hot spring on the side of a mountain. It is awesome. The trail is gorgeous. It's moderate. There are beautiful forests. There are beautiful views. There are so many wildflowers in this area in the summer. And who doesn't want to end their hike at a natural hot spring? This hike is also in the Maroon Bells Snowmass Wilderness. And this is another one that you need a permit for. I backpacked here in July of this year, and I had to get my permit all the way back in February. For those who backpacked here in August and September, they had to get their permits way back in June. So just be aware and be prepared in advance. With this permit, you also have to get it for a specific campsite up by the hot spring. Personally, I got on to get my permit as soon as they were available this year, and I was only able to get the very last campsite on not even my first choice day because the permits went so very fast. So just be aware that permits are kind of hard to get for this hike, but you can do it with some advanced planning. When you go in to get your permits in the system, just be flexible too and have some backup dates because you may not be able to get your first choice date. I know it might sound like a pain dealing with that whole thing, but this trail was having some issues with overuse, which is why they decided to put the permit system in place. And while I was there, the trail did not seem crowded at all, so I'm pretty grateful that they did put it in place. This hike starts at about 9,000 feet above sea level, and you gain about 2,500 feet throughout the hike. I'd recommend doing it in 2 days. And lastly, we have the Lost Creek Wilderness Loop, which is only a couple of hours from Denver out in the Pike and San Isabel National Forests. The Lost Creek Wilderness Loop is a 28-mile loop out in the Lost Creek Wilderness. This hike is a fantastic option for late spring and early summer when a lot of the other hiking trails and backpacking routes in Colorado are still covered in snow. I've done this loop twice now, once in late May and once in mid-June, and both times the trail was clear of snow. For it being a higher elevation hike, this is pretty impressive because a lot of the other trails at that time of the year are still covered in a lot of snow. You do not need a permit in advance to do this hike, you just have to self-register at the trailhead. Throughout this hike, you gain about 5,300 feet of elevation. It is a challenging hike, but at the same time, I think it's very doable. Both times I did this hike, I did it in just 2 days. However, you could certainly stretch it out and make it 3 to 4 days if you would like. There are lots of dispersed campsites along this trail, and many of them are right by water. This trail is really interesting because it's unlike any other trail that I've done in Colorado so far. It really reminds me of Utah, South Dakota, and even the Pacific Northwest all rolled into one. There's also a paid campground right at this trailhead if you want to get there the night before so you can get an early start the next morning. Note that you do have to drive on a dirt road for several miles to get out to this trail, but any type of vehicle could make it out there. For this trail, you are not required to have a bear canister. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I would love to hear if you have done any of these backpacking trips or you plan to do any of these in the future. Let me know in the comment section if you have any other backpacking trips that you would like to recommend to people in Colorado or otherwise. Thanks for watching, you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later.